I tell you what, people were wondering, they're getting a little worried, but here he is on the 90th episode of Wayne's World and Kelly, and there was his hand. I have no idea what that was all about.
Good to be back, dude.
We had another scheduling conflict because it's pretty funny. Let's just talk about it for a minute. One person who's coming on the show in the future sent me a note that I saw this morning. Actually sent it through LinkedIn last night. I usually check it all the time. He said, "Hey Kelly, I need the link." And I said, "Well, if you scroll up, you'll notice you committed to a different date." Great guy, excited to have him on it. We do it. That's why I do electronic scheduling, and I also have a calendar behind me that I keep everything on the calendar. And then Wayne and I were just discussing while we were waiting for our guest, who I'm a little sad that isn't on. And hopefully we'll get them on. I never disclose the people that don't make it. The few times it's happened, because I don't want to, poison the well at all. But it is disappointing. But he's in a different time zone. But Wayne was just saying that his calendar, because he's a big traveler. I don't travel really much north of Jupiter or south of Key West. I really don't go down to Key West once in the last 5 years. But I love going south, and I will go out east to the Bahamas if anybody has a place they want me to stay at. But he said that Wayne, Wayne, everybody remember Wayne? It's been a while.
Here.
Wayne, he said that when he travels a lot, that his calendar adjusts to time zones. So I don't know if I'm going to have somebody trying to pop on here and, later and saying, "Oh, where are these guys?" Don't know. But
well, yeah, it's frustrating. I had a lunch meeting on Monday when I came into Chicago, and she had said, "You need to, in the future, adjust this for the time zone." And I said, it adjusts whatever time zone you are in. And I did reaffirm that. However, there could be some kind of a disconnect regarding, the calendar syncing with Android and Apple. I don't know. But to your point, it happens infrequently, but it's supposed to adjust. So if there's any Apple fanboys out there, let us know if the Android and Apple syncing has been a problem there.
You're Android, right?
I am. I tried Apple for a year, dude, because everybody always said Apple. And I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm finally going to do it, even though I'm the wrong age demographic for it. But I'm going to see what this is all about. And I got to tell you, it was the most underwhelming experience that I have ever had, because when somebody tells you, "Hey, this is the best pizza in the world, you got to try it. This is the best movie, you better watch it," it damn well better be both of those things. If not, I'm gonna call you out on it. I don't understand Apple and the big deal with it at all. I don't get it. This is my nod to Apple right here. I got the earpiece.
My daughter turned me into Apple years ago. Ran a business on Apple. Ironically, my business partner, James, who is a architect, has his master's in architecture, doesn't like Apple. So
why not?
He doesn't like the Mac, which was shocking. And his wife loves it. So
talk
about a mixed marriage.
Right.
With two beautiful daughters. But, but it's funny how people like what they like and don't like what they don't like. I suck at both. I like the fact that Apple's for dummies. No offense to us fellow Apple users, but I find it very simple. And it actually does. I don't utilize everything it can do, but I do understand that there's, it was back when we had, Bell Atlantic or what was another cell phone provider that was really big back in the 90s. Check this out. So we had a guy, I would order my company over that, and to where the employee got belligerent with the owner. Ironically, the employee, they started screaming about what was the better cell phone. It was hysterical.
Yeah.
Right in the middle of the business. And I mean, they were going, I won't mention any names, but the funny part was the owner of the company was apparently wrong by all people. I think he actually admitted at some point that he was wrong, but the other guy just he had a temper on little guy, and man, he went off. And
Jammed up.
then he
There you
packed
go.
up his office and left.
He did
And
not.
dude, I swear to you, that's what happened. It was that intense. He got fired. Oh yeah, he got belligerent. He was completely out of line in his argument, but of the two cell phones, the one that he was arguing for was actually a much better provider.
I was true story on that when I was working a storm in Denver. This is probably about 18 years ago. A guy that was aligned with us, he had to get a new phone service. So going to a mall and they had those kiosks, and he got into an argument with a guy about which cell phone provider was the best. Actually, to the point where this guy that again used to work for us, this is 20 some years ago, not anymore. I want to make sure everybody knows this. He followed him home. He was that guy that followed him home. And I said, dude, what are you doing? This is the stuff that lands you on cops. He goes,
Right.
they were arguing all the way out to the parking lot. They were like kind of parked by each other. And my guy follows him home. Dude, and no surprise, probably a few months later, we let him go. But that's how passionate people are about the dumbest stuff.
I
God,
can't
like
believe
what?
you
Who cares?
can't believe you lasted another day. My boy Brian
Yeah.
was packing his stuff up to make the story even a little bit more interesting. So Brian and I shared an office, and I was with a client, and the client witnessed it, and we
Oh,
continued to do
great.
paperwork on the deal while Brian was packing his stuff. And I
Yeah.
just, oh, and to this day we're still friends. He lives back up in Virginia, and nice guy, but he had that temper, and he was a great guy, smart guy. Served in the Navy, good for that. But he had a temper on him, and wow, people.
But
Sometimes I wish I was that passionate about certain things. Maybe I am, but not to the degree that I would ever want to, I kind of respect other people's opinions. I enjoy people being wrong if I'm right. I like to find out
well,
later that I was right too, but not to the point where I'm going to lose my mind and even be rude to the other person. I'm like, sorry you feel
yeah,
that way.
but I'm still looking for that person to tell me that gap between Android and Apple is so big that these are the reasons why you need Apple. And the one thing only that I have heard is the ecosystem. Like for example, the earbuds I have in right now, that's my only nod to Apple. I shouldn't say that. This tablet that you're watching me on is Apple. But I just want to know what the big difference is. And I have yet to anybody ever tell me other than the compatibility of the accessories. Okay. Because I had an Apple phone for a year. Didn't see
Right.
a hell of a lot of difference, Ace. Didn't see it. Just asking.
Um, I would love to tell a story right now, but I won't. But I will. Should I generically say it? So about 7 years ago, I'm working with a guy, I know a guy, and he did something incorrect, and it was on his iPhone, and it populated on his tablet at home.
Uh-oh.
And
I think I
and
know where you're going with this. In fact, I know
so
where you're going with this. That's not
I say,
good.
yeah, and I was humored by it. I've heard other people have that experience where I wasn't humored because actually I liked the people. I didn't like any. This person wasn't a good person, and what they did was wrong, and they, the whole 9 yards, and neither one was innocent on anything. But it's like, holy smokes, man, your phone ratted you out.
Uh
Hopefully,
yeah.
I'm being a little generic on this, but just because I don't want to cause anybody, even people I don't really um have any opinion of anymore. I still wouldn't want to dust up that stuff, and I'm sure they probably will never watch this. But anyway, it's
Well, but even if they were, dude, you know that they're not the only person that has engaged in
Oh,
what
again,
you're
I've heard it.
talking about.
Yeah, I've heard it. I've
Yeah.
heard it happen a lot. I know. I'll tell you something, and it's just a little personal, but I was going through my divorce 100 years ago. Okay, it's like 18 years ago, 19 years ago, whatever it was, and I was starting to get a little bit. Let's just get this over with, you know. And I received on my no, I don't. It wasn't even an Apple product. Now, it wasn't even a good Apple story. Oh no, well maybe it was. And did we have tablets back then, 19 years ago? We did.
No.
No, we did.
Tablets 20 years ago, maybe,
I
but
don't.
you know what? Yes, we did, but they were big, dude. Because I do remember people had tablets with like a stylus, and they would write on them. So yes, yes.
Oh, I know what it was. It was AOL. It was my AOL email account. All of a sudden populated emails from several years before where, you know, she wasn't being very nice to me. And I was reminded.
Oh my God.
And it brought me back to, you know what, let's just get through this and get it done and don't, you know, give away the farm or whatever you want to, how you want to describe it. But it's kind of funny.
Right.
Electronic stuff is very interesting.
Yes.
Oh, it's a challenge. You know, I have to make everything work here every morning or you know, every time we do the show, and it's a challenge. And I'm not that good at it. We actually brought on somebody who I haven't brought him completely on, so we're excited to have him. Richard Worth, who is going to be you know, part of the unincorporated team here, you know, along with you, me, and the show. And he's going to help us do some more technical stuff because you and I are idiots, I guess, when it comes to that stuff. I'm trying to think
Pretty much.
what word would be polite and nice, but accurate.
Technologically challenged. That's 2 words.
Right. You know, so that's, you know, that's exciting, isn't it? and Rich, for people, a lot of people know Richard, you know, what a smart guy. And he's a lot. I thought the guy was like 30 years old. He's old.
Right. Yeah.
He is the fountain of youth.
Yeah. He's a good guy. I met him years ago.
Yeah. We were talking recently and he said something about, you know, I've been in the business for like 19 years or something. I'm like, how's that even possible? You know, so, but, you know, good guy, smart as a whip, very talented in a lot of avenues, knows his business inside and out. So you know, we're excited to have him join us and maybe it's a little bit more advanced on how we do things.
I think we need to, why don't we put him on the show to welcome him, and he can tell everybody how, you know, he can assist us and everything. I mean, he's worthy of a half an hour. The guest that we were supposed to have on.
Yeah.
Right.
That's pretty funny thanks for thinking of that because I should have.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying, you know.
He's with Building Link, which a lot of people out there know the company Building Link. And God knows they don't need any advertisement. Where you know, some people go, "Are you an infomercial?" It's like, no, we're not an infomercial, but we find great people out there, which he's one of them.
Right.
Does great things, not only in our industry, but other industries and everything else. Today's alleged guest was somebody who has nothing to do with what we do, but he would have been a great guest. And hopefully he will be in the future. So yeah. How's Chicago?
You know, it's 38 degrees. I'm actually layered up, and it feels very strange to be back in the Midwest with this kind of weather. However, I think I've told you this before, and all our listeners know this about me, is my feelings of Chicago run so deep because to me, it's my favorite city in the country. My tagline is it's a city with good Midwestern values sprinkled with a healthy dose of East Coast attitude. It's the only city that it's the only city that, in my opinion, can like really get away with that. And when I'm here, I truly feel like I'm home. No offense to Florida, because Florida is where I live, and I love Florida. It's paradise, like you've told me for years. But man, my heart is really always going to kind of be here because the city has always been so good to me. Our market growth exploded when we got in here 20 some years ago. and the people that I'm still dealing with today have really turned into my good friends. And when I do come here and visit my clients, I truly feel like I'm home and I'm one of them. I love it here, and it's home, brother. It's cold, but I love it.
My dad's from Woodstock, Illinois, which is west of Chicago. And when he was a child, he told us this story when we were little. I can't, I think about him telling us the story. They used to hop the train when he was like in middle school.
Dude,
go to
that's
Chicago,
old school.
spend the day there, hop it and head back. Now,
hop in a train.
That was back in the late 20s, early 30s that he did that. But think about it now. Dad, what were you thinking? Dad up in heaven. What were you thinking telling us impressionable young kids that you used to do that? Fortunately, we never had the courage to hop the trains that were going through Manassas to wherever. And thank God we never tried, because, trains were probably maybe a little faster. And
dude, I've always wanted to hop a train. The problem that I always thought about that is you're going to go to a place that you don't know where it is, and then you got to figure out how to get back.
Yeah, back then they couldn't take Uber back. You had to catch another train. They'd go east and then they'd have to go west at some point and be home in time to not get whipped. So
yeah. I think the idea of having that kind of lifestyle has always appealed to me and probably everybody, to just be able to turn around and do this to the world and just disappear.
Right.
How does that not sound inviting?
I don't want to be encouraging anything. I know that we did things. We didn't do anything that wild when we were young, but we would leave the house, especially in the summertime. If we didn't, go ride with my dad to the country club and go swim and golf and play tennis all day, which was fairly, a confined area, we were just left to go out and do whatever we wanted to do. And we'd check in at dinner time to let them know if we were coming home, or we just show up if we were coming home. It's not like we said, hey, I can make a 6 o'clock reservation for one at the dinner table. But we'd call up and say, hey, I've gone over at the Van Scott's house or at the McKenzie's house or the McGarrick's house or whatever. We're eating over here. And they're like, does the mother say it's okay? Yeah, okay, good. Well, so we'll be home later at 9. We were little kids. Now I never, we constantly, and our kids are older. And now, now I'm a grandpa. I can't imagine what it's going to be like. And, James and George have these beautiful little girls running around, but they watch them like a hawk, and I watch them like a hawk when I'm around. It's talk about a big difference in 90 years between jumping a train, going out in the neighborhood, riding your bikes and playing all day, to we have to know what they're doing constantly. And free range kids seems to be better.
Dude, there's a book out now, and I read the review on it, and it has something to do, I can't remember the title of it. I think it's literally something like the problem is with the parents, and it shows on the cover like a micro playground. Now, you remember when we were growing up how big the playgrounds were. They actually had a thing called a merry-go-round, which you can't find any of those anymore. And the gist of
you
this,
would spin on it and you go 100 miles an hour and you're holding on, you go flying off it, and it was gravel around it.
the whole gist of this book is everyone has got this wrong, where they're like, what's wrong with the kids? It's what's wrong with the parents. I knew I was a parent late. I got married late. Okay. And I always had this feeling in me that there was something wrong out there with the bubble wrap that we put our kids in. And I knew it would someday boomerang on us. And wow, has it ever. And I've always said this. It's not the kids. The kids have always been kids. It's you, the parent, because you are so afraid to let them fail, and you don't understand that's how you learn. Dude, I could talk for hours about this, and I'd be looked at as a crotchety old man, but it's real. It's real what we have done to our kids, and it's shameful. Okay,
And I like the bubble wrap thing. The whole, I rode my Vespa down a mile and a half to go hear some live music Sunday night. They do the Sunday night thing, which is about to end, unfortunately, at Fishtails, which is a fun place down on 32nd or 34th here in Fort Lauderdale. Try it sometime. It's got really great music. They're not a sponsor. But I was talking to a couple people and they're like, oh, this woman goes, is that a motorcycle? I'm like, it's a scooter. Yeah. I said, have you ever been to Europe? Turned out she was a medical doctor. Yeah. So she's an OBGYN and from Buffalo, speaking of cold, and she was heading back. I'm like, how in the world do you head back? But she's like, well, you really should have a helmet. I said, but you know what? I grew up in the 60s and the 70s. I don't need a helmet. I said, and I think I agree with you 100%. I was, talking to her about that Sunday night. Bubble wrapping these kids' heads and knee pads and arm pads. You know what? Some of the best things, how do you learn? You learn from pain, right? Now, I don't want some kid getting killed. And then unfortunately that stuff does happen, but we got to experience things as a kid. I plugged in once holding the plug and freaking electrocuted myself. Is at my dad's office. Boy, guess what? Never did that again. And you learn by hurting yourself. I would and you had a son, which might have been a little easier. Well, little girl, I didn't want her to be hurt physically or emotionally. She'd be falling across the 20 feet away from me. I would run and catch her before she hit the ground. She'll let her hit.
God, dude.
And then emotionally, I was always coddling her. Now, she was the perfect child. And I have no problem admitting that. She was potty trained in like 4 days. Was speaking full sentences when she was, 15 months old. I was insane, this little human being. And they say it skips a generation. So I attribute that to my parents. But I coddled her so much.
Wow, dude. Okay.
So I'm one of the ones that did it,
Well,
and
I mean, at least you acknowledge it. I would,
a little late.
Yeah, it is a little late. And then you start seeing all these statistics that were coming out, maybe even like a decade ago about, the arrival of college freshmen on campus. 80% of them were on medication for anxiety because for the first time in their lives, they were in a position that they had to figure stuff out themselves. We all saw this coming, but yet, and I'm Gen X, you're a baby boomer. I thought that my generation would be different. Oh, we're not going to be like the baby boomers. We're not going to coddle them and all this BS. You know what? We did. And I don't understand why we did. There's a couple of us that didn't. I'm proud to say that for the most part, I did not do it. But again, it's like proof that the problem is the parents. And I remember saying this to parents back then. I'm like, kids have always been kids. We're the ones. All the sidewalk supervising. Jesus, let them go. Sorry.
I drew the line on medication. I was 100% against any type of medication, period. Amen. From the get-go. I didn't want to, I didn't want to do the vaccination.
Nope. No way.
I knew some of them were somewhat important, but I just, I'm a skeptic when that stuff. I went to the doctors recently for an annual, which I do every couple of years. It's an annual, get it? But, because I'm not a big fan. I live healthy, and I'm looking at this doctor. She's half my age. She's in terrible shape, and she's asking me questions. And I'm sitting there thinking, why do I want to listen to her? She didn't take care of herself,
Right.
And I've lost 18 pounds, so I'm maybe an ex-smoker.
Oh, good for you.
The first of the year. And because how it just creeps up on you, and it's my good friend Greg Orndorff, he's lost over 50 pounds. And he was down visiting for 4 days last week. And we've been friends since we're in, under 10 years old. I mean, I don't know. We've known each other so long, I don't know how long we've known each other, maybe even younger. And we're talking, he says, I've always taken care of my family and my business and and everybody else all my life. And he goes, and one of the things I didn't do was exercise and eat right. He goes, now I'm doing it. And he goes, man, I should have done this a long time ago.
Yeah, I mean,
he had a cousin-in-law that's 67, extremely successful, very healthy in appearance. And passed away recently. And he goes, man, he goes, I was already moving in the right direction, but that really freaked me out. He goes, he's not that much older than me. And obviously, the guy was financially capable of taking care of stuff, but he goes, it just really freaked me out. So, I'm a big proponent of Rockin Wellness, one of our big sponsors, but they're real. They just don't pay us, and I don't want them to. Um, but the more I swear I was looking at, Facebook keeps showing pictures from like 13 years ago. If you had it, you would know that. And I swear, I
Yep.
think I look and feel healthier today at 61 than I did at 50.
Yeah, you look pretty rough, man, and orange. So what's the explanation for both of those? You ever heard
It's a
of a
life
shaver?
issue. I really need to.
Shave, shave a little
I
bit.
shave
You
like
kind of
every
look like
five
a
to six.
hobo that's popping on the train, dude. Come on now.
Come on, man.
I'm
Come
just
on. Look
kidding.
at this. Look at this. But
Okay, sit down,
it's
please.
the dad bods, and I still, I still got a little bit going on, but I think, we got to take care of ourselves, and then maybe for the, if anyone's listening that has kids, we need to let kids be kids. And I think they need to take away the freaking games. Now, back in the 80s, I'm working at IBM and I had a bunch of friends, Greg King and these other guys, that they had the games, where you play football and stuff, and you had the controllers. I stunk at it, and I'd rather be out playing instead of doing that. And these kids today, and also adults, guys in their 30s, they get home from work and they're doing 4 hours on the internet playing games. I don't get
Dude,
it.
it's too late. It's too late. That stuff is never going away. And no matter what we say, we just sound like we're like crotchety old dudes because it's never going away. That would be like saying this cell phone. I wish people wouldn't be on their phone and use their phones and be part of the heads down tribe and do this all day. We lost this one. And we just, I don't know, dude. I'm kind of okay with that because we can't do anything about it. So why not just accept it?
We can all be conscious about our health. We can
Yeah,
also
for
when
sure.
I am very careful, when I go in with a meeting with a client, I turn it on silent, right? Because I don't
Of
want the
course,
phone
we
ringing.
have to do that. Yeah.
But why not do that during family time too? Which I do. And when I'm with friends and stuff, unless there's something really, and I'll peek down and look when a text rolls, and my phone's over here, so that's why I'm looking that way. I will look at if it's something important for our business, because we have a lot of them
Of
clients, and
course. Yeah.
but otherwise I have gotten much better. And I'm saying I was the guy that was really bad about it. I was, the crackberry, blackberry guy.
Right.
And over the years, I've gotten much better at not being so lost in my phone. I love. I got a phone call yesterday from a great client. She says, "Oh, she sent me she called me up and she said, I've met you, I think once before. We linked up. She's a property manager, not too far from my place. We've got a big building that needs a lot of work done to it. Can you come down?" It's from LinkedIn and the podcast.
Right.
So I'm appreciative of using it effectively. I've
Yeah.
tried, and I'm definitely not any angel at it. I'm sure can be guilty of doing stuff on my phone more than I should, but I've curtailed it a lot, and it doesn't control me anymore. But I
Yeah.
do try to use
I,
it to the best of my advantage.
I do have to work on it a little more to try and be in the moment. I mean, I've been working remotely before that was even a word my whole career. 22 years this month. I've been working remotely, and for the work purposes, obviously, it's made me much more productive. I do find myself at times, checking my Google feed, even like I'm kind of getting caught up in this NFL draft because the Vikings are in a position to get a top rated quarterback. It's kind of like, what the hell am I even doing looking at that constantly? So sometimes I feel like it controls me, dude. I'm not
I
going to
think
lie,
it's
it does.
great that you
Sometimes,
you and Rob Aid actually think that the Vikings have a chance. I think that's great.
no, no. Whoa. Wait. Okay. I'm not going to let you get away with that. In case you don't remember, I told you this and I'll tell the world this. This is what it means to be to be a Viking fan. Are you ready? Here's what it is. In an alternative universe, when the Vikings win the Super Bowl, I will be sitting in front of the TV with my arms crossed like this, saying, "Great, you effing owed me that one." And then I shut it off and I walk away. So, no, dude, no. Notice I said alternative universe, because it'll never happen. And the Vikings have no chance. They could take Caleb Williams or whoever, and they'd ruin him because they're the Vikings.
Yeah. Hey, listen, the Redskins are really good at ruining people until they leave, and then they leave and they have great careers elsewhere.
Dan Schneider
anymore.
Dan Schneider is all I need to say. That's it. I don't even need to say any more than Dan Schneider.
I like to apologize to everybody. We don't allow cursing on the show.
Yeah, no kidding.
Talk about a derogatory human being.
Literally, he is in that category of a bad person. He's terrible.
The Vikings have a better chance of winning the Super Bowl is us finding somebody to say something nice about Dan Snyder.
Yep, that's good, dude. That's a really good one. I like that.
I've known people that have worked for him, worked with him, and up close and personal, he's 1,000 times worse than he is from our public perception.
Yeah, it's somehow he's one of those guys. He is to the NFL what I think that guy's name is that used to own the Clippers, Donald Sterling, with his racist comments and his shameful behavior that everybody could see. And it's like he didn't care. And the only way to get his attention was to literally force him to sell the team, which is what the NFL did to Dan Schneider. Thank God. Thank God.
And then, who knows, they'll be doing it. And another thing, though, you talk about it a little different on your team. But when my Nationals 5 years ago went and won the World Series, and I tell you what, I was really, for a number of years, Maddie and I would go to the games, and I truly got invested for the first time since I was a teenager, maybe, into a team.
Yep.
And we loved doing it together. We had, and we were invested. We'd go to games, we'd watch games. It was a fun little cheesy Pete's daughter, father experience. She wasn't my mother. And it was so stressful going through the end of the season, postseason, then the World Series. Thank God we kicked, what's that terrible? It's Dallas is a great city, and then what's the Houston?
Oh, the Astros, yeah.
I was unlike you. I said, okay, I'm grateful, but never again. And then they blew up the team. I mean, they bought a lot of that. I mean, the Mets have proven you can't buy a great team. The Yankees proved that you could for years. You can't. The Mets did everything they could to buy a great team. The Nats did invest well, and they really did a lot of great things to put that team together. But boy, that team they scattered like roaches turning on the lights at night in a cabin. After they got that. Did. But which was okay because I can't take the stress.
Right.
Mark and Mike Harris, his son-in-law and nephew-in-law, have a kid that's playing. His daughter married a nice young man who's playing for the Colorado Rockies, and I should know his name. And I actually know his parents too, which I never put it all together. But anyway, it's a Manassas boy, Gainesville, Haymarket, young man. He's not a boy, he's a man, and he's playing and he's doing great. But I know for them, it's exciting they fly and go watch his games and all this stuff, but it's also really stressful. I'm sure it is and they, talk about invested. I was just invested on a team that I adopted as my sons. I can't imagine what it's like when it really is your son-in-law,
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no kidding.
But and I love it for them, but it's also, but it's funny to watch how people get crazy for sports, but it's much better. I mean, having Derek on the show, and having Derek share the stories of him playing
That
in the
dude's
major
awesome.
league.
I'm sorry I missed the last call. He's a great
I know.
guy.
Oh, yeah. He says, well, I got to come back on again just so I can see Wayne again, but
Oh,
no.
see,
And I love all that
but
stuff. And I love how sports
yeah.
make us passionate and the whole 9 yards. But even football is going to probably disappear in the next 10 years.
My prediction actually on football is the first thing they're going to do is they're going to get rid of the cheerleaders. Period. They're going to go, and then
Sad.
it will probably turn into some kind of a modified type low contact, perhaps at best. Worst will be flag football, because it's just the way everything's going.
Yeah.
And nothing we can do about it, but whatever. That'll be for our kids to figure out, for your daughter to figure out, and for my son to figure out. I just whatever, dude.
But it's all changing.
Anyway,
but boy, I tell you, I love how we just, we went all over the place, and it's fun. I'm sorry, everybody, about our guest, because he never did post.
No, he didn't.
He's on my calendar. He's on the calendar. So
we'll get him
I'm
back.
not taking him.
Yep.
And we'll get him on, and you'll never know who it was that missed. But he's
Okay.
a great person. I'm not even going to describe who he is, because that's going to give you clues. But I should have just sent the invite to our other guy.
We should have.
And just said, yeah, that worked out. But hey, it's good catching up. People were worried if you were alive or not. Now we can, this is not AI. This is really Wayne. And, it's our 90th episode. Average less than 3 episodes. I think we've, we must be up top something.
I don't blame you asking if I'm still alive, because this was Al Capone's town. So, but nope, I'm here.
I'll tell you what, I had so much fun at a golf tournament last week for BOMA, Building Owners and Managers Association.
Yep, I'm aware of them.
Over at Deer Creek, they had a great day. There's some other good tournaments that happen throughout the year, but boy, they really bring it. I mean, they do such a fantastic job. And had a bunch of people coming up to me and asking about the show. And
that's cool.
And say, we're listening. We love your guest. Sorry about today, but it's to us, it's fun. It's a little bit of extra work, but I think it's worth it. And hopefully we can keep doing this for another couple hundred episodes.
Oh, we will, brother. Looking forward to yapping with you soon. Okay.
You have a great day. Everybody have a great day, and we'll see you next week with somebody.
I hope. Adios.